And welcome to the Marcus and Mike show, guys. On today's show, I should say, Packers get the win over the Bears. Antonio Brown's saga is still happening in college football. Greatest week possibly of the year so far, even though it's just week two. But before we get too far into the show, I gotta welcome my man Marcus to the show. Marcus, we both started picks 0-1 on the season. Packers did beat the Bears last night, 10-3 in a offensively anemic game. Uh,
Yeah,
let's just go ahead and start
you
off
you
right off the bat. What are your
you
thoughts
were
about this
closer
game?
than I am. You were a lot closer than I was. You picked a low scoring game. You were right on the money. I picked a high scoring game, or kind of a semi high scoring game, and you were much
Yeah,
closer than I was.
yeah. I mean, the reason why I picked the Packers to only score 9 points was because Aaron Rodgers did not take a preseason snap whatsoever. So we had no idea what the offense was going to do. He had no idea what the offense was going to do, and
You were
and and Mitchell Trubisky didn't complete or didn't attempt to pass in the preseason. I like either. So that was
you.
the
That's what I'm
reasoning
saying.
behind
You
that.
were 1 point off.
Right.
They
But
scored 10 instead of 9. You're 1 point off. You were 100% right in your Aaron Rodgers stuff. Absolutely.
except for Mitchell Trubisky, I've been kind of hard on him, I guess you could
Oh,
say, in the off season. What he went 26 for 45 for 228 yards with one interception this past night. Uh, is this the true Mitchell Trubisky that we're going to see?
I hope not. God awful if it is. That would be horrific. Uh, I mean, this guy, and I don't. The coaching staff was terrible too. I mean, this guy went back to pass like 50 something times.
Yeah,
He got
45
sacked.
attempts. Yep.
Yeah, 45 attempts, but then he got sacked a few times, and
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, I think they called about 50 pass plays and about 13 running plays. Not a good balance there, people.
No.
And Mitchell Trubisky was absolutely horrific. That offense was terrible. Green Bay Packer defense is a lot better. Maybe we can say that. But man, Trubisky was is. I hope this is just the week one jitters. Get the kinks out of the way, because if this is anything to come for the season, if this is anything what's going to look like, the Bears will be 6-10, 5-11 real quick.
Y-
I mean, I just don't know if you and I are going with the offensive game plan for the Chicago Bears.
Right.
The last thing we're going to do is have our quarterback throw it, step back to pass 50 times. A quarterback that's not Dan Marino,
Yeah.
that's not Patrick Mahomes. It is going to be, we're going to be at 30, 35 passes and 25, 30 rushes.
Yeah.
So
And
we're
like,
not going to, yeah.
yeah, and just to hit on your point there, like I think the NFL average should be about 35 pass attempts per game.
Yeah.
Slow it down a little bit because it is such a offensive of a juggernaut team that you need to keep your defense off the field just to get them a little bit of a break. But with all that being said, the only bright point of the Chicago Bears last night was Allen Robinson. He had 7 receptions for 100 yards. So if you
Right.
guys have him on your fantasy team, he's the only one that broke 6 points all night. But with all that being said, your coaching point that you just brought up, 100% spot on. What is Matt Nagy for the Chicago Bears opening up the game with some T formation and they fumble the ball? They're lucky they got that ball back
Yeah.
because like if they would have lost that fumble, I believe they're inside their 20 at that point in time, maybe 30. I can't remember for sure. The Packers may have blown that game open early with a
Yeah.
touchdown and just the way their offense was like
Yeah.
looking. I mean, it could have been game over.
And the only reason why, it was a close game is because the Chicago Bears defense is pretty good.
Yes.
They confused Aaron Rodgers the first quarter, and Aaron Rodgers kind of got clicking a little bit, but not really. That was not an Aaron Rodgers game. He knows it. That's why in post game he kept on saying we have a defense. He's very happy about that. So once the offense gets clicking for Aaron Rodgers and the boys, they maintain that defensive prowess there. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, Chicago defense pretty good, holding Aaron Rodgers to 10 points. You said 9. You were 1 point off. And another thing, real quick, Chicago went for it on 4th and 10. Did you watch that? Were you awake for that
I,
at the
I
end?
I fell asleep toward
Checked
the end of the
out.
game. Yep.
Chicago had a 4th and 10 at the 32 or 33. Could have been a 50-yard field goal. Okay, if you have an NFL kicker, listen. A 50-yard field goal, I don't care what level you're on, is not a guarantee.
Right.
But you're an NFL kicker, man.
Man.
You should be able to kick that. And they did the worst thing, though. You can either kick the field goal or you can pooch punt it, get him down there to the 5 or 10 yard line and make Aaron Rodgers go length of the field.
Right.
They did neither. They went for it on 4th and 10 and blew that one. I think Trubisky ran for about 2 yards up the middle. So they blew that call. There was 3 things you could do there, and they picked the wrong one. 2 of them would have been right,
Right.
and they picked the wrong one. They picked the wrong one the whole night. If you're a Chicago Bears fan, you have got to be sick. You've been preparing all summer for the Green Bay Packers coming to your house, Soldier Field. They were honoring the 85 Bears. It's time to kick the Green Bay Packers' ass. You were favored, and you blew it.
You're right.
And you scored 3 points.
Yeah.
There's guys that had more beers in the first quarter than the Bears had points.
Oh, man.
God. I mean, I would have, if I drank, I would have been drunk. They'd had to carry me out of the stadium.
Right.
I would have been cursing people. I'd have cursed ushers for that performance.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
You are 100% spot on. But there are 2 sides of the coin here. As a Chicago Bears fan, I am sick to my stomach. Yeah. We went 12-4 last year. 2 of our 4 losses were in overtime, and just like we had so many positive vibes happening. We replaced the kicker that double doinked and lost us the playoff games. It's like you had so many high high positives. Matt Nagy, Mitchell Trubisky going to have another year under his belt. You guys got to be sick by the performance that you had last night offensively. Yes. But now on the other side of the coin, if you are a Green Bay Packers fan, you have to be the most optimistic, looking forward that like you can possibly be, because it's the first time you've had a solid defense in at least 5 or 6 years since Clay Matthews and AJ Hawk were second or third year in their league. After that, they went downhill, and the Packers defense was horrible year in and like year out. Aaron Rodgers had to carry that team. So if you are a Packers fan, you have to be ecstatic. We have a defense. Aaron Rodgers is he is going to click. We could go 12-4. I mean, it's a very good possibility for a Packers fan. But with all that being said, I got to ask you this question. I don't like preseason football whatsoever. I think it should be totally kicked out whatsoever. But Aaron Rodgers did not take a single snap in the NFL preseason this year. Do you think this played an effect on his game last night?
It's possible. Listen, I hate preseason football, but let me just harken back to what I know. Troy Aikman, I watched Troy Aikman. You would think Troy Aikman doesn't need the preseason, right?
Right.
But you know what they did? Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, Chan Gailey, whoever was coaching Aikman, they let Aikman play in 3 preseason games. The 4th one, no. That's for the backup to start and see what he's got. But Aikman played the first series of every preseason game. That's it. That's all you need. Get down there, and once in a while, Aikman and them, they go 3 and out. You wouldn't see him again.
Right.
And then once in a while, he'd get them down there. They kick a field goal. And then once in a while, it'd be boom, boom, boom. Starter start. They scored touchdown 7-0. Aikman, Emmett, Irvin are on the bench. So if there is going to be preseason, I would have let Aaron Rodgers play the first series of 3 of the games, just like the Cowboys did with Aikman.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair thing. But I really don't want it at all, to be honest. I'm okay with they look like crap. If they look like crap in game 1, hell, they look like crap. I'm not really worried about that, man. Listen, the coaches like when they scrimmage against other teams because they can control it.
Right.
And I like that too. Aaron Rodgers has already gone up against Oakland Raiders in practice, and he's played. I mean, it's not like yes, I know it's not the live football and everything, but he's gone up against, because these guys scrimmage a couple of teams in the preseason a year. So I think that's fine. I mean, Trubisky's just got to be better. I don't want to give excuses on him about, you didn't do preseason or whatever in the hell. Aaron Rodgers. No, listen, Aaron Rodgers is a guy that he's not going to give any excuses. He looked rusty the first quarter. Then he started to look like Aaron Rodgers, but he wasn't next game. I expect him to look like Aaron Rodgers. So that's your fault. I mean, I'm going to want to blame that on preseason. That's your fault if you're rusty, Mitchell Trubisky, Aaron Rodgers.
You're right.
And just let me add one. Go ahead, say something. I'm going to add a disclaimer on that. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to add to your point there, but like even though game 1 or week 1 you can look and play bad, but week one games are just as important as like week 16 games, and
They are.
especially with an interdivision game such as the Packers versus the Bears. Like you have to come out and you have to perform. So for the Chicago Bears and for the Green Bay Packers, you knew all summer who you were going to play. You were going to play the Chicago Bears. This loss for the Chicago Bears could be the difference between a division championship or a division runner up.
And
Week one can make that decision. You should have been able to
yes,
play.
and
You
real
should have been prepared, knocked off the rust,
yes,
whatever you had to do. You should have been
right.
prepared.
And guess what? Let me let you on a little nugget here. Uh, Guess who was watching their games last night? Was licking their chops and watching that Chicago Bears offensive line and just how they looked. Guy by the name of Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. Chicago goes to Mile High Stadium next Sunday at 3:25.
Yeah.
This will be the Bradley Chubb will have 2 sacks. Von Miller will have 2 sacks. I predicted Bradley Chubb and Von Miller to have at least 25 to 30 sacks combined. And this game, the Bears game, they're going to have fun playing this game.
Right.
Oh, and real quick, I got breaking news. Tyreek Hill just signed a 3-year extension. Kansas City Chiefs Tyreek Hill signed a 3-year extension, $54 million, $18 million a year, $35 million guaranteed. That's a big deal for a kid where he came from.
Yes.
At a not a big college, who's 5'9", 5'10", if that, on with cleats on, with fastest player in the NFL, and he's climbed up that ladder, and he's become, in my opinion, a top 5 NFL wide receiver, and he just got rewarded with $54 million over 3 years.
So this is breaking news. I didn't know anything about that. I don't have a TV off to my side or like anything, just like that. So as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm glad we locked down our guy for the next 3 or 4 years. That is fantastic news. But do not Kansas Chiefs, do not price yourself out of the market with all these players that we have to sign coming up. We still have to sign, Kelsey. We have to sign an offensive line. Patrick Mahomes. This is his 3rd year, so he has only 2 years left on his rookie contract still. So hopefully we have some more salary cap room to play with in the 2021 season. So hopefully.
You're 100% right, Mike. I'm going to agree with you on that, very much so. But Tyreek Hill is such a transcendent talent that you have to. If this was just a really good receiver, I would say no. Let's take care of Mahomes.
Yeah.
Let's take care of offensive line. But this guy is, I mean, he's a 5'9" Julio Jones, but better. Right. I mean, this guy's ridiculous. Yeah.
So you are 100% correct.
I'd make the exception to the rule on him.
Yeah, like I was actually just watching the NFL Brutal plays on a YouTube right before we started the show, and Tyreek Hill was on there almost every other play. He is a dynamic player in the open field. You can get him on swing passes, on reverse punt returns, kickoffs. You put him anywhere and he is going to perform. I mean, he's definitely well worth the $54 million. But I hope we can sign people around him so they don't start bracket coveraging or anything just like that. So with all that being said, speaking of big wide receivers that have gotten signed, and Antonio Brown and the Oakland Raiders signed a big offseason deal this summer, or last summer, I guess you can say. Ever since then, it's been nothing but issues. You've had a helmet issue, you've had frostbite, and now you have him fighting with the general manager in the locker room after practice. What are your thoughts on this, Marcus? Are the Oakland Raiders going to release Antonio Brown?
Well, I'm hearing that if they suspend him for a game, they have an out on the contract or something where they don't have to pay him at all and they can just release him and save $29+ million. Ridiculous. I mean, it's something to consider. I'll be honest with you. Owners and coaches and all that, when you sign a great player, you always ask, is the reward worth the trouble that you get? You always weigh the pros and cons in that regard. And I think, when they signed him, I actually think, look, they heard a lot of good news about him in terms of
You're right.
He's a hard worker in practice and all that stuff, and he comes to play game day, So I don't see any fault in them in signing him. People are getting mad that they signed him. Well, you knew what you were going to get. Yes, to a certain extent you did, but they didn't think the guy was just going to be a flake. You wonder if he wants to still play football with all the shenanigans he's
Let me add
doing.
To your point there. Just in the ESPN interview back in March when he first signed with Oakland, or I don't think he was even signed yet. He said that he doesn't need football anymore. Football needs him. So just to add to your point there.
And yes, you're 100% right. He was talking like, "Oh, I got enough money and all that." You know what you can tell, and I'm going to get a little personal here, and I don't care if anybody doesn't like it or not. You can tell he doesn't have a good woman with him or a wife.
Right.
You can tell that. I can tell that easily.
You can
They
tell by
didn't
his
show her in
mustache.
hard. They didn't show her in Hard Knocks. You think a good woman would tell him, "Honey, calm down. Do not say anything silly. You're gonna make a lot of money. Go play football. You love this game,
Hmm.
and if you want to retire in 2 years, that's fine." You know, a woman would be telling you stuff like this.
A good woman, a good
Yes,
support
and
system of a
yeah,
of a
and
woman.
he's not getting. He doesn't. You can tell he's a wild child, and he doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
I can tell. I can tell by what I could tell by watching Hard Knocks because they get a little personal there, and
Right.
I could just tell by his shenanigans. So I wonder if he wants to play football. And you know, he in one day he thinks he's just some Billy badass right now. He's got an accumulation. Maybe he may have $30 million in the bank or whatever. You watch when he's about 40 something, he's gonna say, "Damn man, I should have played those 2 years,
Right.
or I should." And this is also gonna hurt his Hall of Fame. He won't be in the Hall of Fame.
If he
No,
doesn't play,
yeah, no. If he just kind of, if his lasting memory is cussing out Mike Mayock and the foot issue, helmet issue. I think the NFL, if he gets in, it'll be when I'm 70 and he'll get in on that on the old timers clause. He'll be like 50 or something. He'll go, "Oh yeah, Antonio Brown was good," and they'll forget the headaches and they'll just remember the player
right.
on the field. People, time heals a lot of things. Maybe it doesn't heal death, but it heals a lot of things. And so he might get in but he won't get in like he's supposed to get in, like maybe second ballot, third ballot. I don't think he's first team, but this hurts him. Yeah, like I said, you wonder if he wants to play. I mean, and you know what? I wouldn't. I don't think. Listen, the guy's too big of a talent to release. If you really want to win in this league, David Carr. I know he's got Tyrell Williams now. They drafted a really good running back. They need Antonio Brown to win football games. They really do. I mean, it doesn't. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't. They got Juju Smith-Schuster and
Right.
James Washington and Big Ben Roethlisberger, and that's what makes the Pittsburgh Steelers amazing in their drafting. They could lose a Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and it doesn't matter. They're still supposed to get to the Super Bowl. That's incredible to me. The Oakland Raiders are not there yet, so I don't think they can lose an Antonio Brown and expect to go 10-6 or 9-7. Without Antonio Brown, they'll go 5-11. They'll be in the cellar dweller again, and just be looking for another receiver next year. So I don't think they'll release him. I think that if he apologizes and gets there week 2, because he's going to be suspended week 1. If he gets there week 2 and finishes out the season and plays really hard like we know Antonio Brown can, I don't think they're going to release him. But if this thing, let me tell you something, if this thing gets more into the bizarre, and like say he doesn't report for week 2 unless he wants an apology for Mike Mayock or something crazy like that,
Yeah.
no, they'll release him then.
Yeah. You're
Or he'll
you're
be gone now.
you're 100% correct. So,
Yeah.
uh, I talked about this yesterday on a different show, and I was listening or I was watching NFL Live on ESPN, and they had Steve Young on talking about the situation, and like he said, what they did in San Francisco was they treat superstars like superstars and other players just like other
Right.
players, meaning that if this was in the old days, and this would not be an issue at all because Antonio Brown would be treated like a god there, and he could do no wrong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I think that is exactly wrong because the Raiders are a horrible team. They aren't very good. Last year they were what 3-13, I think it was.
Yeah.
So they don't have any room to let people slide. They have
Right.
to lay down the law like this is the Raider way, just like it is the Patriot way, like it is the Steeler way, or just like any other team. Like you have to
Right.
lay down the law. But I want to go a different route this time around. Maybe, just maybe, because Antonio Brown did not play any preseason games. He finally just found a helmet. Maybe his feet aren't totally healed yet. Maybe him blowing up at the general manager, trying to get suspended for a week, gives him an extra week to get prepared for the season. Because right now, I don't think he's ready for the season. I don't mean like I gotta know how long frostbite takes to heal, but I saw the pictures of his feet and they are gross. They were gross.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just not ready to like play, and like this is his way out by getting suspended because he's not ready to play. So his work ethic doesn't get into question. His off-season preparedness doesn't get into question to try to save some face a little bit.
Yeah, well, if that's true, then he went the wrong way about it. You don't cuss out Mike Mayock, dude. Like Mike Mayock's a good man, dude. He's a good
Yes,
dude. I mean,
he's
he's
a
a
great
great
man.
talent evaluator. I mean, I don't see how and if they don't suspend him, is there clarification he is suspended game one, like that's written in stone? Because if they
Yeah,
don't, that'll look really bad on the Oakland Raiders. He has to be suspended at least game one.
yesterday, John Gruden and then Mike Mayock both said that they don't have any information. They were going to review it more on Friday. Well, today's Friday. It's what 11 o'clock there on the West Coast,
Yeah.
give or take a couple hours. So we should know something by today. I want to know something by today so I can set my fantasy team. But that is besides the point. But like
Yeah.
I think you are correct that they will not release Antonio Brown. Cooler's head will prevail. Mike Mayock and John Gruden are going to realize that they need him. I also suspect that Derek Carr will go into Mike Mayock's office and look, I'll take Antonio Brown under my wing. I will calm him down because let's face it, Derek Carr has to have a great season in an Oakland
Yeah.
Raider uniform for him to have a job next year. It is simple as that, and he needs Antonio Brown on that team to have a great season, whether you want to win a minute or not. So I think Cooler's heads are going to prevail. He may not get a full game suspension. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he gets a half a suspension.
I mean, if you think about the behavior, it's borderline ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, think about if he did
superstar
have a
behavior.
yeah. I mean, if he said, let's just say he did have a wife and he walked through the door. Can you imagine what she would? What are you doing? You just lost us $2 million game check for $55,000, and you're the one that caused the $55,000 not showing up, not doing this, not doing. That would be like she probably could tell him. That would be like me telling my boss, I'm showing up late and I didn't go to work here, and they just charged me $5. It's equivalent to your 55,000,
Right.
and I'm going to complain about that. You have to be a freaking idiot to complain about that, dude.
Something is going on. Either the Steelers were putting a steel curtain up and blocking all of these antics, not releasing anything,
Yeah.
or something has just clicked in his head where he thinks he's the greatest thing to walk this earth. I want to say the Steelers were putting up a great front because this has been going on for a while. Because he's 12, 13 years in the league. I mean, it has to be going on for a while. Like, this just can't come up just like
I
this.
I took a lot of flack for a few years ago when he went Facebook Live and gave the Mike and let Mike Tomlin speech out
Yeah.
about we're going to kill the Patriots and all that, and talked about the different opponents. They just beat. I think they had just beaten Kansas City.
Right.
It was after the Chiefs game, and it was a big game. They beat Alex Smith and the Chiefs. I remember that, and I took a lot of flack on social media because I said that you remember that the Facebook Live thing?
Yes.
Okay. I thought about releasing him then. I would have called him into my office and said, "Hey, dude, let me just let you in on a little secret. One more slip up, you're on double secret. One more, and you will get released. And I don't care if it's as little as hitting a teammate with a fucking towel. You're out of here.
Right.
You don't do those kinds of things. Can you imagine? I'm going to flip the script on you because I love doing this to people. Can you imagine if me and you work together
Right.
and your secret conversation to me and our staff, and I put it out there on the news about what you said about the opposing coach? Would you fire me?
I would be
Yes.
very upset. Yes.
I know. I'd expect you to. I wouldn't even show up. I'd
Right.
expect you to just send me an email. You're done, dude. Like, how stupid is that? How stupid
It
is
is
that?
not. It is not smart at all. That's
So
that's for sure.
I thought about. Listen, I said I might release him. I took a lot of shit from the millennials on social media, the big babies. Oh, don't do it. He didn't know. That's just what they do now. I mean, people today will defend the indefensible.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It
But
is
yeah,
proof.
so
Point proven is the whole
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson debate that we had a little while ago. I
Oh,
still
yeah.
get flack for that. So
And let me just let you in on a little secret. He's not better than Mitchell Trubisky, and Mitchell Trubisky has a long way to go.
right. So Lamar Jackson is still trash, but
Yeah.
he was still good in college. I give him that. He was good at Louisville. But speaking of the college game, are you counting this as week 2 or week 3 in the college?
This is week 3 for
This is
me. I hate
week
when
3.
they do that week 0
Yeah,
crap.
that's dumb. So
This is the third week.
week
This is the
3,
third week for me that I
right?
can watch college football. This is week 3 for me.
You're 100% correct. So week 3 have two big games that are happening. First one, your hat says it all there. LSU take on the Texas Longhorns. Probably the biggest game of the weekend. Who do you got?
Man, I'm taking UT. Yeah. I mean, I think that I think UT can pull it off. I really do. They listen. I think they're back. I really, they're minus a few running backs this week, but man, I'm a believer in Sam Ellinger. I really am. This kid's like,
Yes.
I don't want to say Tebow. People think that Tebow's the greatest college quarterback. No, he's not. But Tebow's top 10. So, Sam Ellinger is got some Tebow in him, but he can throw the ball better than Tebow. So, I'm a believer in Sam Ellinger. Texas receivers are outrageous. The offensive line's good. I mean, LSU is this Texas is the real deal. Texas has some good defensive backs. We're good up front, led by Malcolm Roach, number 32 in your Texas program. Listen, and I know LSU is fabulous too. They get the recruits. I'm not saying anything against LSU, but the way I pick it is I think this is a home and home, and I think Texas gets the first crack at it. It's in Baton Rouge next year, so I'm probably going to pick LSU unless Texas is just some juggernaut,
Right.
which I don't. I think they're back, but they're not a juggernaut. But I'm going to go ahead and take Texas in a close one. This one will be really, really close, and we're talking 38, 37 type stuff, game-winning field goal type stuff. I think this one comes down to the wire, and LSU's pretty damn good too. So this one, man, this is must-see TV. No wonder College Game Day is there because this is really good stuff.
Right. So just to add to your point there, Ellington is a pretty darn good quarterback. I don't think he's Heisman Trophy type winning quarterback, but he fits that Texas system almost perfect, and
Yeah.
they couldn't have done a better job of getting him to Texas. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate about this, but I think LSU is just a average team. They benefit from being in the SEC and playing weak opponents 60% of the time.
Really?
When I say weak opponents, look at the SEC. You have Alabama, you have LSU, and then you have everybody else. Like Alabama and LSU and Georgia, like you got to throw Georgia in the mix. Those three teams have been carrying the SEC for so long. It has been those three, and then the rest of the conference. And then like LSU has benefited from being in the middle, and they play Alabama well. They've beaten Georgia once or twice in the last few years, but then they play Vanderbilt. Then they play a horrible Tennessee team. Then they're playing weaker opponents, and this is their finally a test outside the SEC. And I don't think they are ready to go into Texas and Austin, I should say, and beat the Longhorns. It is tough to play in Austin. Any Big 12 team that plays at home, I'm giving the Big 12 team advantage because the Big 12 home is tough to play.
Yes.
So I'm going to pick Texas, and I'd like your 36 to 37 score, but I'm going to say 35-36 Texas. I think
Okay.
Texas is going to just run up the score on them. I mean, it is going to be a high-scoring, lights-out game.
No, this is one that everybody's going to gather around and watch. It's going to be a hard-hitting football game. I like Ed Orgeron. I've always liked Ed Orgeron. He's just always been more of the football coach and not the big CEO. I don't know if you remember Coach Ed Orgeron from Mississippi. Remember that movie, The Blind Side?
Yes.
Okay, Coach Ed Orgeron was the Mississippi coach, and so when what's his name, the Blind Side kid? Oh my God, I don't know why can't remember his
Michael
name.
Orr.
Michael Orr. He's a first-round pick to the Baltimore Ravens. When Michael Orr went to Mississippi, Big Ed O was his coach. Big Ed Orgeron. He sounds so funny too. He sounds like a Muppet character or something.
Right.
But look, Look for. I'll give you a little nugget here. Look for two safeties in this game, one off each team. Caden Stearns, sophomore from Texas. He can't go in this NFL draft, but if he was to go in this NFL draft, he'd be a top 20 pick. But the best safety in college football relies in Baton Rouge, and that's Grant Delpit, big time safety. So I think he'll intercept Ellinger, make some big hits, and he could turn the game around. Grant Delpit, he is a top 10 pick in this year's draft. I think I got him somewhere around 8 or 9.
Okay.
He's the real deal. And Caden Stearns, the safety from Texas, is the real deal, but he's only a sophomore. He won't be in the 2020 draft. He'll be in the 2021 draft. And I expect Caden Stearns to pick off Joe Burrows once or twice. Big time, both big time athletes. And so Grant Delpit's put together a little better. He's a year or two older. Like I said, he'll be a top 10 pick. So two safeties in this game, one for each team. I'm predicting will each have an interception or a big hit that will change this game.
Okay. I like big hits and I like big interceptions, so I really hope forward to those predictions coming true. Speaking of people that are not eligible for the NFL draft this season, Trevor Lawrence is only a true sophomore, so he's still not eligible for the NFL draft. But
Right.
but the second biggest game of the weekend, or you can even say like a 1A, 1B type of thing. You have Clemson takes on Texas A&M. Obviously, Clemson is the defending national championships with 14-0. Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost a game as a starting quarterback. Who do you got in this game?
Upset alert, upset special. I got Texas A&M 30, Clemson 27. I'll go ahead and do that right now. Kellen Mond, the Texas A&M quarterback, he's one of the prettiest throwers of the football I've seen in college in a while. That thing, he can throw that thing on a rope, moving right, left. If you give him time in the pocket, he can find people. I really like him. I was not impressed at all with Clemson's first game out the box, and I'm almost forgetting who they played. It wasn't even a big game. It was Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Good opponent, but they're not Texas A&M. And Trevor Lawrence didn't impress me at all. I don't know what. Let me tell you something. Texas A&M's defense is better than Georgia Tech's defense. So Trevor Lawrence, if he doesn't improve after last week, will be in for a rude awakening. But Trevor Lawrence does have does he have the talent around him too? Etienne, however you say his name, number 9 for Clemson. That running back is a freaking beast. I mean, that dude.
He is great.
That dude is flat out special. And then number 5, I'm forgetting his name, the wide receiver. I think it's T. Higgins. Yeah, T. Higgins. He wears number 5 for Clemson. That dude is a top 15 NFL draft pick. So Trevor Lawrence has the players around him. Clemson, remember, they lost all 5 of their defensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, and they lost Big Albert Huggins to the Texans. He was their fifth. He was their de facto 5th starter.
Right.
If anybody was out, Big Albert Huggins would come in. They lost all 5 of their defensive linemen, and they were okay. You know, the replacements. These guys recruit really well. Dabo Swinney recruits 4- and 5-star recruits, so they're going to be just fine. But I'm going to pull the upset right here. I think Texas A&M will beat Clemson. They're a 19-point underdog, and I can't. Man, let me tell you something. You're Texas A&M. You're the University of Texas A&M. Think about how big time that school is.
Yeah.
You should never be a 19-point underdog to anybody.
Right.
Think about that. That's ridiculous. I don't care who you're playing. Clemson, Alabama, maybe 10, 11, 19. I mean, they think you suck. I mean, 19, they think you suck.
And it's at Texas A&M, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not even sure where the game is at. I know they played last year and it was 28-26. A&M just lost by 2 points. 28-26. Clemson barely escaped that game. I don't think they escaped this game. I don't care if it's at Death Valley. I don't care. I think Texas A&M, they already have players that are predicting upset. They're predicting that they're going to win. I'm with those players. I'm going to take Texas A&M 30-27, and Trevor Lawrence throws another couple interceptions just like he did against Georgia Tech.
Okay, so I just looked in it, and they're playing at Clemson this year, actually. So I thought the game was at Texas A&M. If this game was at Texas A&M, I would be on your horse picking the upset all day long, because I remember when Texas A&M was in the Big 12. I used to watch them all the time. That crowd was crazy. I played there. It was the most nerve-wracking place to play because the fans are literally, 10 feet from you. They're wiggling their fingers. They're in their army suits. It is a very intimidating place
Yeah.
to play.
It's on my bucket list, College Station, Kyle
Yes.
Field. You'd be amazed. I've been to a lot of football games, and that's one I haven't gotten to yet. And that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it is a beautiful field. It's a beautiful atmosphere. With that being said, Clemson, luckily for A&M, the game isn't at night. It's a 3 o'clock game. If it was at night, Clemson does not lose at Death Valley at night. Plain and
Right.
simple, whatsoever. With all that being said, I'm going to go with Clemson. But if we're picking the spread, what you said it was a 19-point spread, I believe.
19.
Like was it? I'm taking Texas A&M and the
Plus
points
19.
all day long.
Yeah.
They are not going to beat them by 29 points, by 3 scores. It's not going to happen, you guys. That's almost 3 touchdowns. Do you wrap your head around that? A 12th ranked Texas A&M team is not going to lose to Clemson by 19 points. But I do like the score from last year, the 27-21 score, because of the defense that Texas A&M does bring. With Trevor Lawrence having maybe a sophomore slump, maybe just starting the year off right on the wrong foot. They did beat Georgia Tech in week 1, but Georgia Tech has got a brand new head coach. They are rebuilding. Georgia Tech will be good in 3 or 4 years, but right now they're a 2-win team, to be totally honest.
Right.
But with all that being said, I like Clemson winning this game 21-20. It is going to come down to a last-second missed field goal by Texas A&M kicker. He's going to doink it off the right upright. It's going to fall down. It's going to be game over. So Clemson does win. They escape. What does Lee Corso say? He has some escape thing that, like he says, they escape, they survive and win, and they after this week look for Clemson to really improve though. So this is going to be scary.
Right.
So
no, I'm with you on that one. I mean, last year's game was 28-26. That was the final score. And A&M, they played Clemson right there. And A&M, that was a better Clemson team that they played. So I'll go ahead and pick the other. And most definitely, me and you were sitting in Vegas. We would take Texas A&M plus the 19.
I would throw in 3 paychecks on that. Like there is no way they're winning by 19 points.
Right.
With all that being said, week 1 in the NFL season is starting. You can say it started last night, but let's be honest. Sunday afternoon at 1:00 Eastern time, that is when the NFL season starts. Sunday afternoon games. What is a must-see game for you this weekend in the NFL schedule?
Well, I'm gonna laugh for a second, real quick. I can tell you what it won't be.
Go ahead.
Wait, I was just looking at this. I think I told you a couple weeks ago. Detroit at Arizona.
Right.
Only degenerate gamblers and the wives and the moms and the grandmas will be watching this one.
Even the grandmas might even tune out, huh?
No, I'll make a prediction. The Cowboys preseason game versus the Texans will get more ratings than this game.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, I mean Yeah, I mean Cowboys preseason will get more. Yeah. Man, Pittsburgh, New England. That's something else right off the bat. Sunday Night Football. That's a beast. I keep on hearing everybody on the New England bandwagon. They realize Gronk is not there, right?
I don't know. Probably not, because he's always hurt.
And have you seen Gronk lately?
No.
He looks like one of those white polar bears that's trying to find food, and they haven't eaten in about 5 months. He's about 230, man.
Losing all that weight,
dude was
huh?
like a 270-pound machine. He looks like, hey, I look like I could walk by Gronk and hit him in the chest and cave in. Yeah, I would literally tell me he's trying to find food, man. Like one of the polar bears, they're scrounging for food. That's what he looks like. Yeah. So Tom Brady, Tom Brady doesn't have that guy to throw to anymore. And the kid I like, N'Keal Harry, their first-round pick at Arizona State, is not playing week 1. So I don't know, man. I think Pittsburgh gets them this game. This is must-see TV for me. It's amazing. I think I said it earlier. The Pittsburgh Steelers can lose Le'Veon Bell, and they can lose Jackass Brown, and they can people still predicting them to win the Super Bowl. Think about that for a second. That's pretty powerful. I think Pittsburgh gets them week 1. I mean, yeah. So I think this is. I've never disrespected New England, by the way. Yeah. I've always, because they remind me of the Spurs. but this is the first year, you heard it here. I'm going to predict New England to go like 9-7 and not go. I think I've always predicted New England to go at least 11-5.
Right.
So I think this is the first year it's going to be the 9-7 year, like where everybody. And this is Tom Brady's final year. I'm going to predict it right now. So, yeah, I mean, no, it was hilarious if you seen Gronk, man. Hey, can you imagine that conversation? Brady's about to go meet with Gronk for dinner, right?
Right.
And then he's like about to ask him to come back because they're like 4-4, right? And then Gronk passes right by him, and he doesn't recognize him, and he has to like tap him, dude. I'm here. I go, who are you? He's like, who are you? Oh my God,
Are you
lost 40
Gronk's little
pounds, man.
brother?
Yeah, you lost 40 pounds. I was gonna ask you to come back, but let's start eating. Let's get the
Right.
Yeah, let's go to the buffets, dude.
Let's go to McDonald's and get that cheeseburger, man.
Yeah, dude. Gronk has quit working out. And listen, the Giants Cowboys, it's must-see TV for me. Like but really around if I was not a Cowboy fan, I mean, dude, they're gonna mollywop the Giants. The Giants are. Eli Manning. Okay, Daniel Jones and Eli Manning will each throw 4 interceptions. How's that for a?
There we go.
They'll throw 4 interceptions a half, and then and then what's the name? Dave Gettleman will be saying, "Oh, we're fine, we're good."
Right.
Yeah. So
so I definitely like that pick. One like that is probably the game of the week, I think, or of the week one. I do like the Houston's versus Saints on the Monday night game, the early game. I believe it's like at 6:00 the kickoff. But the game I am most intrigued to watch. I'm not talking Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not talking the Cowboys. Those are our two teams.
Right.
I'm talking Titans and Browns. I want to see if the Browns are the real deal. I want to see if Odell Beckham Jr. is, as advertised, if Baker Mayfield's going to continue to take steps forward, as I think he will. He'll be a top tier quarterback here by the end of the year. I think he's the real deal, and I want to see if the Titans are going to be any good. If their defense is going to step up. There are people saying that their defense is the best defense in the league. I want to see it. This is the 1:00 game. I believe it's on CBS. Like, this is the game that I want to circle, and I'm going to sit down and watch it. I'm going to dissect it play by play. But then I'm curious about the Colts Chargers too. Is Brissett the real deal? Because I believe he signed a $20 million extension. So the Colts are saying you are our guy. But they also signed Hoyer as well, the Patriots' backup quarterback. So I'm curious of how short of leash Brissett is on for the Colts, and if the Colts can really survive without Andrew Luck or not. So those are definitely two big games.
I'm with you, man. Oh my God, are we gonna? If the Browns score like 45 points and Odell Beckham has 2 touchdowns and Jarvis Landry has 2 touchdowns and Baker Mayfield's running around. Oh my God, the monster will have been created.
Yeah.
You think Antonio Brown's bad? Wait till Odell Beckham starts catching like 15 touchdowns a year. He'll stand up on the Cleveland Stadium and say, "You guys better catch me, or I'll go to another team." Right. It'll be that terrible.
Right.
So I'm predicting that. I'm predicting the Browns because of Baker Mayfield. He throws people open. He's a hell of a quarterback. So I think the monsters will be created Sunday. I think they're gonna whip the hell out of Tennessee. And a game that you kind of glossed over because it's your team, man. Kansas City at Jacksonville. Like, let's just think about that for a second. That's about as night and day as you can get from Detroit versus Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Listen, you got the 2 best corners, in my opinion, on the same team. Maybe not the best corner. I don't know. I got to look into that. It could be. But I'm talking about as a tandem. A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
I mean, against McCole Hardman and Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins, that to me is must-see TV. Okay. I mean, these guys, you got the Kansas City Chiefs receivers running 4 threes, and A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey think they're the best tandem, and I do too. That to me, okay, over/under A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey in game 1, over/under 1.5 interceptions for both.
Oh,
like
under.
In other words, no. I'm talking about combined.
Under.
Okay.
They're not going to get any interceptions.
They're not going to be any. Okay, listen. Here, this is where I'm going. I think that Kansas City can score so many points and kick and because I respect A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey. I think that it can go over, and I think because if they go over, that means AJ Bowie has two interceptions, or Jalen Ramsey, or they each have one.
Right.
And so if they each have one, that's two interceptions. It went over the 1.5, right? I think that Mahomes could throw two interceptions, but throw four touchdowns, and Kansas City still win. That's how much of an error rate it's going to be.
Well,
Like,
I'm going to go on the opposite side of the coin there. I
yeah,
think Patrick, because if we were talking about year two, Patrick, yes, I would agree with you 100% because he would always try to fit in those tight window
yeah,
passes. This year, he understands that hey, I cannot fit those passes into those tight windows all the time. I have a I have a tight end that is great as a dump down. I have
right,
LaShawn McCoy coming out of the backfield, and I have Tyreek Hill running down the field for
yeah,
80 plus yards. That middle of the field is going to be so wide open, and those two cornerbacks are going to be chasing the guys down the
yeah,
field. That the middle of the field is going to be open. Am I saying Patrick Mahomes won't throw any touchdowns?
right,
I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I'm saying the interceptions will come from the safeties or the linebacker
right.
spot. They won't come from the cornerback spot.
And real quick, big loss for Jacksonville in free agency. Tashawn Gibson, their free safety, who
Yeah.
covers tight ends about as well as anybody in football. I'm not saying he's great, one of the greatest of all time, but he's good. He would cover tight ends for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is now a Houston Texan. Tashawn Gibson, number 39, in your program there. They don't have that this year. Jacksonville doesn't have that. They really needed Tashawn Gibson week
Yeah.
one to cover Kelsey. They don't have that right now. They got some kid named Wilson, and he's not as good as Gibson. So that's a big loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars right there. And real quick, I just want to say one thing real quick, and this is pretty funny. This kind of ties into the Chiefs. Think about 2 months ago when Tyreek Hill looked like down in the dumps,
Right.
right? Release him. He's beating up people and everything else, right?
Right.
And then Antonio Brown looked like, oh, the new signing. It's awesome. Man, has that table turned? Antonio Brown looks like the piece of crap.
Right.
And Tyreek Hill has ascended into a $54 million player, and he's making more per year now than Antonio Brown will.
There we go.
So just amazing what a couple of months can do. And one guy do the right thing, and one guy and toe the line, and one guy act like a jackass, and then look what happens to your money.
And also it is amazing how overreacting to a situation gets you to this place where you are ultimately supposed to be. Because people were calling for the Kansas City Chiefs to cut Tyreek Hill the minute that tape came out, or I should say the allegation came out. There was no evidence out there yet. It was just somebody saying he is getting looked into for child abuse, and
Yeah,
people are saying cut him, release him. Now he is. I mean,
yeah,
he still is the one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. Now he's getting paid like it, and I'm
yes,
glad he's a Kansas City Chiefs because those same people that are calling to cut him they would have been the same people that are calling for the Raiders to pick him up, the Browns to pick him up. So
yeah, you know what would have happened if they would have released Tyreek Hill that day that everybody was saying cut him?
yep,
He'd be a New England Patriot right now, and you'd be sick to your stomach, and I'd have to change my New England pick from 9-7 back to 12-4,
yeah.
and then Kansas City, we'd be sitting there, you'd be sitting there with no Tyreek Hill. You'd be sick to your stomach. It'd be stupid. So I'm glad they did the right thing.
Think about this. Think about if the Kansas City Chiefs would never have listened to anybody and kept Kareem Hunt still, just to put him on the pup list, and then they
Right.
shine LaShawn still. They still have Tyreek Hill. They have Sammy
Yeah.
Watkins, and they had the same draft. Think about how explosive that offense would be. It'd
Yeah.
be
No,
it'd be unreal.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But Kansas City running backs, Tyreek Hill is more important, really important. Running backs are kind of like a dime a dozen. You got Damian
We have
Williams.
three,
And,
4 of them
yeah,
now.
you got Damian Williams, and yeah, I mean, dude, Kansas City's fine. I mean, yeah, so yeah, I'm not, and then yeah, so I'm not even worried about that. But I get your point there. Your point is well taken.
Yeah. So, guys, that is going to be it for today's show. We are going to obviously take the weekend off. Enjoy Week 1 NFL football. Hug the kid, kiss the wife. We'll see you Monday. We have 2 games to talk about on Monday. We'll have the Oakland
Yeah,
Raiders
football.
versus the Broncos and Houston versus Saints. So, guys, join us
Yeah.
Monday. Like, comment, subscribe. Share this with a couple friends. We'll see you guys Monday. Have a good weekend. Happy